So like I said, I'm in Rhode Island. I'm working on a deal that's in Central Mass, which is like an hour from me.
Okay.
And the title company that I like that I found here in Rhode Island, I prefer to use them, but obviously, since it's so far away, like I'm assuming I wouldn't be able to do that. And I'm having trouble finding a title company in that area. So I was just wondering if you've been in that situation and if it would be
Yeah.
okay to
Yeah.
use
Every day. Try doing it all over the country. So how far away is Mass from you? Like an hour ride or?
that particular town. It's in Worcester, so it's like 50 minutes probably from.
So have you asked your title company, can they do title in Mass?
Yeah, I did. They said yes.
Okay.
But I was just thinking from like the seller's perspective or the buyer's.
So do you have it under contract?
No, no, not yet. I was just trying to plan ahead.
So talk to your title company. Sometimes it's up to the seller. Some sellers can't deal with it. If they are titled, if they're allowed, if they're licensed to do it in Mass, you can do it one or two ways. They can set up a closing. They just got to plan it out ahead of time. And honestly, they prepare all the docs and they just send a notary to your seller's house. It's actually even more convenient.
Okay.
Sellers don't. Now, some sellers are very insistent about like want to go to a title company. If that's the case, then try to use a local one.
Okay.
But if your seller doesn't care, like if you don't ask, you don't know. You could just say, go, listen, here's how I say it to him. I go, and to make this a super convenient transaction, the title company is going to come to your house. Now, the title company typically doesn't come. I've had title companies do that for me. They just send a mobile notary. It's $75. And honestly, if you trust that title company, they're okay with your paperwork, and you can control the seller, do that by all means and make it seem like, here's what I'm going to do for you if you sign with me today. I'm going to make it where you don't even have to leave your house. Dude, they love that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if he goes, no, I need to go to a title company, make sure it's legit, you might have to change it up.
Okay.
And then what I'd also do is ask that title company, because they're not that far away, if they given you any like referrals of anybody in Mass, like to help you out.
I haven't really, no.
Yeah. And so just go on Facebook, all that other stuff, look at wholesaling houses for real and find someone that's doing deals in Mass and find the prolific title company that they use. So I hate switching title companies because there's always a risk. Something can really fall apart. So
Yeah.
are you comfortable in how to do that mobile closing?
I mean,
You're selling it as a benefit. And what I do for my clients is I bring the title company to you.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And usually like, oh, wow, you do that for me?
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people are extremely insistent. I have to, like some of the old school old timers, and you got to respect it if they do that.
Right.
Now, to be honest with you, I've had title companies drive 1 hour for me. They charge me like $150 for their time and gas. I could care less. Yeah. So you're going to pay $75 for the mobile notary, or you can pay an extra $100, $200 to your title company to compensate them for an employee being out for 3 or 4 hours.
Right.
So try one of those two, and I think you'll be fine with it.
Okay. And another question here is about offers. So from what I understand, the best time to make an offer is on an appointment, ideally if you're doing it in person and after you've conditioned the seller. Mm-hmm. But I'm just kind of having trouble, like on that initial call when you do the MCTP, when you get to the P, it's kind of hard to keep like the natural flow of conversation going without giving your own price, like, or an offer. So I just wanted to see what your take is on that.
So a lot of people screw this part up of it. So the P in the MCTP is just price. Yeah. The reason you do it, it's not really, it is a qualifying question, because if the property's worth like 200 and they're asking for 800, you got to say, dude, how motivated is this person for me to spend all this time with? Right. Now, if the property's worth 200 and they say like 190, 180, they're probably worth having a conversation with. But I use it as a qualifier all the time. Right. And a lot of times they go, I don't know, you called me, you tell me what the price is. I go, just trying to get an idea, what you need to get for it. I use it as a qualifier because I get all the time in Florida, people like, I'll take $1 million for my house. I go, it's worth 250 on its best day. Yeah. I'm $1 million. I'm like, and then here's how I do it. Ready for this? How did you come up with that number? And shut up and just let them spit it out. Right. Yeah. Listen, guys, the reality is if a property's worth 200 and they want 5 times what it's worth, I know you all think you're good, but you ain't that good. It's a waste of time, in my opinion. They're just not motivated. And that's why the P is in the MCTP. Right. Now, remember, you don't have to do the whole idea of the MCTP is you memorize the acronym. So like when you get stressed or like you're uncomfortable, which is going to happen when you start wholesaling, is all you have to do is figure out those 4 acronym letters, to check it off your list. So if price comes up first, and it does a lot,
Mm-hmm.
let me ask Ben, if they want $1 million for a $200,000 house, do you think you're going to get like even a decent deal?
No.
And that's what you use for part of the qualifying. When they go, I don't know, you call me, tell me what it's worth. I'm like, just give me an idea. Like, what do you think what do you need to get for it? I don't want to say what's your ask price. I don't use realtor terms.
Right.
And honestly, if they can't even come up with a number, it's probably a sign. So all the other ones, the motivation, the condition, the time frame, they're all clues. And after you get those 4, if you can't get enough clues out of those 4, then you don't spend a lot of energy on those leads.
Right. Okay.
So it's like, so the thing is, I go, listen, if I was able to buy your house, where, how soon could you move out and where are you going to be moving to? If they don't know that, they don't know the slightest on it, you are a long way from getting a deal. And then if they don't know the price and then they just get very defensive, here's one. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an extra qualifier. How much do you owe on your mortgage?
Right.
If they say this, well, that's personal information. I don't want to get it out there. You are not buying the house.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's actually public record. So if you take a mortgage, take a 30-year mortgage for $300,000 at 6%, it's recorded on public record. I can go reverse engineer it like in a second. Or I can just go to listrei.com and it'll tell me in 2 seconds. So remember, the qualification is to kind of test people, because if you talk to 500 people in a day, you're going to meet a lot of idiots. And the MCTP is to get you through it. And if you're having a fighting conversation, it's probably not going to work out.
Right.
You agree, you understand, but you can't make people sell you the house, right? You can only qualify them, and that's it. So if they get stuck on price, go to one of the next ones. And if price isn't working, the time frame is working, and they refuse to share the condition of the house, and they have no idea what their motivation is, I'm moving on past that lead. I'm just not going to waste my time. And that's it.
Gotcha.
Because if you try to make everything work, you might as well just be a realtor on MLS, because that's how they do it. And we can't do that. We need distressed properties. We need motivated sellers. And if there's no motivation and there's no reason for them to sell, then you are going to pay top dollar, like through a realtor, and that's not wholesaling. I don't teach that. I'd rather you go through 3,000 leads and find 5 people that will talk to you than try to convince 100 people on MLS to sell you your property. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Does that clarify a little bit? Does that help you out?
Yeah.
And so when they bounce you around, like they attack price first, I always go, listen, if you just let me ask you a few questions, I can kind of figure out if your property even qualifies. I always go to the takeaway. It's a little bit more of an advanced strategy, but in the beginning, go through that MCTP, motivation, condition, time frame, and price. And if 4 out of the 4, like you get resistance on 4 out of the 4, move on.
Right.
It's not going to work out. I'd rather you kill 4 or 5 minutes than 4 or 5 hours sitting in. There's nothing worse than sitting in somebody's houses that doesn't want to sell it to you, and they just want to waste your time. And by the way, there's a lot of people out there like that. So the idea is you got to protect your time, because we're not paid by the hour.
Right.
If the person's an ass, don't go meet with them. They're just wasting your time. And here's the other one is, if the price is right, I'll sell it to you. Just go, listen, have a nice day. I don't play that game show. Move on. Whenever they said, if the price is right, I'll sell it to you, it is 100% failure ratio.
Okay.
So I gave you a couple. And then my favorite one, probably the key one, is the time frame. Hey, if I was able to buy your house, how soon do you think you get out and where are you moving to? And if they don't have an answer to it, you're a minimum 90 days, even if they're motivated to sell the house. It takes time to figure out where you're going to go. Ben, have you ever gone somewhere and moved in like a week or 2? It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. So does that make it a little bit clearer on the the qualifications?
Yeah. Thank you.
So just remember, just have a MCTP. Okay, he dragged me around on price. And by the way, if they keep trying to step on you, like there's aggressive people out there, just say, listen, John, do you mind if I ask you a few questions to see if you'll qualify, if I can buy your house? Because if you don't take control, you ever been to McDonald's? Like you have a machine now. You push 1, 2, or 3. That's what they're trying to do to you. So,
right. And if the price is kind of ambiguous or you can't get a number out of them, would you still recommend going on the appointment? Because sometimes it's hard to see from the same.
I would try to get. So if the property's motivated, I would go. Meaning, he goes, hey, it's run down. It needs $30,000 of repair, and then that's worth a shot because you got nothing to lose. But And I teach you methods on how to play with them on the price a little bit. I go, listen, John, Rick, I don't know. You called me. I go, listen, John, listen, I'm not going to hold you to it, but if you had to guess, what do you think you need to get for the property?
Mm-hmm.
And if you keep using the volley, if you do it twice, the third time they answer you out of frustration. They have a number in their head if they really want to sell. And the problem is if they don't have a number, it means they don't really want to sell. But remember, I mail that postcard and I offer them, some of them, like a 10, 12% discount off the retail rate just to test them.
Yeah.
And if the property's motivated, we go on the appointment every time, because to me, I only got to talk them down like 10%. It's easy to me. The problem is when I got to talk them down from like 5,000%, it's like a waste of my time. I'm never going to close it. So if the property's motivated and they're just being a little ambiguous on the price, I would go, because you got nothing to lose. But if the property's not motivated and they're completely ambiguous on the price, there's nothing worse than sitting in somebody's living room that doesn't want to sell you the house and they just want to use you and take your contract. So, so when they start doing that, I just use little takeaways like, listen, John, let me see if your property's even going to qualify. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, when you ask condition and they go on and on about how perfect it is, here's what you do. Go, listen, John, I'm confused. Why would you even sell a house like this? I start pulling away.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do it, dude. I give this story, like the dog chasing its tail all the time. It's like my dog, it's like if I let him out the back patio and he's a black dog at night and he'll sit out there and he plays a game. And if I call him and he doesn't come in, if I go out there and chase him, it takes me 20 minutes to catch him. If I just shut the patio door, he comes running back after me. So it's the same thing. It's human nature if you chase too hard. So when they're being like ambiguous and stuff like that, I go, listen, John, sometimes I just tell them, do you even want to sell your property? I don't know. You tell me.
Right. Okay.
Dropping stuff. You got the qualification part down. Just work on that part.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, if the property's motivated, I would go, especially if I'm new to the game, because it's an opportunity and you're definitely going to learn something.
Okay.